My beloved brothers and sisters, today, I want to remind you about something that is often forgotten in our fast-paced lives, something so simple, yet so powerful. That is respect. You see, respect is not just about how we treat others, it reflects the condition of our hearts. If we cannot respect our parents, our spouses, our elders, even strangers, then how can we ever claim to love Allah sincerely? The Prophet Muhammad was the most respectful of all people. He respected everyone, young or old, rich or poor, even those who opposed him. Why? Because he knew that every soul is created by Allah, and to respect creation is to respect the Creator. Sadly, today we are quick to judge, to insult, to belittle others. But if only we knew the reward of speaking kindly, of treating others with dignity, we would change the way we interact with the world. My brothers and sisters, respect is not a weakness. It is a sign of strength, humility, and true faith. And without it, our worship, our relationships, and even our communities begin to crumble. So today, let us reflect and let us rise above arrogance, pride, and harshness. Let us become people of respect, because that is the way of a true believer. Respect begins with the self. How you treat others reflects your own character. This is a powerful truth that many people overlook. Often, we think respect is something we give only when others deserve it, when they've earned our favor, or when they hold a position of power. But in reality, respect is a reflection of who we are, not who others are. The way we speak to people, the way we deal with them in disagreement, and even how we treat those who can do nothing for us. All of it is a mirror of our inner self. If a person is filled with arrogance, pride, or hatred, it will naturally show in how they behave with others. They will find it difficult to speak gently, to listen with patience, or to value someone else's opinion. On the other hand, someone who has purified their heart, who sees others with the lens of humility and compassion, will naturally treat everyone with kindness and respect, even if they themselves are treated poorly. This is what our beloved Prophet Muhammad demonstrated throughout his life. Even when people insulted him, mocked him, or tried to harm him, he responded with dignity and calmness. Why? Because he knew his respect did not depend on their actions. It came from the strength of his character. When we begin to work on ourselves, to cleanse our hearts of jealousy, arrogance, and prejudice, then showing respect becomes easy. We no longer feel the need to prove ourselves by putting others down. We don't look at someone's clothing, job, or background to decide how to treat them. We treat every soul with dignity because we know they were created by Allah, and that alone makes them worthy of our respect. This is not just a sign of good manners. It is a sign of true faith. Sadly, in today's world we see more disrespect than ever before. Online, in homes, and even in masjids. People raise their voices, use harsh language, and look down on others for their mistakes. But the one who truly understands Islam knows that this behavior only harms the one who does it. If you disrespect someone, you are only lowering your own value, not theirs. Because your respect or disrespect doesn't define them. It defines you. That's why it is so important to begin with the self. Don't wait for others to be kind before you are. Don't expect others to change before you decide to be respectful. Start with yourself. Train your heart. Watch your tongue. Guard your eyes. And remember, the most honorable in the sight of Allah are those with the most taqwa, not the loudest voice or the highest status. Real strength is shown in restraint, in gentleness, and in humility. And when your character is built on these foundations, respect becomes your nature, not just your habit. Islam teaches us to respect all of creation, regardless of status or faith. This principle is deeply rooted in the teachings of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. Respect in Islam is not limited to those who pray like us, look like us, or think like us. It extends to every human being, every creature, and even to nature itself. When we recognize that everything around us is created by Allah, our attitude naturally changes. We begin to treat people not based on their race, language, wealth, or religious background, but based on the fact that they are part of Allah's creation and deserve dignity. One of the greatest examples from the life of the Prophet is how he dealt with non-Muslims, even those who were hostile towards him. He never used abusive language or insulted their beliefs. He disagreed firmly, but respectfully. When he was insulted in Taif, instead of responding with anger, he turned to Allah in dua, asking for guidance for those people. This shows the true essence of Islamic respect. It is not reactive or conditional. It is built on understanding, mercy, and wisdom. The Quran reminds us, "Oh, and we have certainly honored the children of Adam." 1770. This ayah does not say only the believers or only the righteous. It says all of Bani Adam, all of humanity, has been honored by Allah. So who are we to take away that honor by mocking, judging, or humiliating someone based on their beliefs or lifestyle. It is not our job to decide who is worthy of respect. Our job is to reflect the beauty of Islam through our character, and respect is a major part of that character. In Islam, we are also taught to respect animals, the environment, and even inanimate objects used for acts of worship. The Prophet instructed his companions to treat animals gently, never to overburden them, and even told of a woman who was punished for mistreating a cat. He taught that removing something harmful from the road is a charitable act. He respected food, water, the masjid, and even the earth we walk on. This is the depth of Islamic respect. It touches every aspect of life. Sadly, today we see people being judged for their appearance, culture, or faith. Some Muslims even treat others with arrogance, just because they follow a different school of thought, or come from a different country. This is far from the prophetic way. Islam came to unite hearts, not divide them. It came to raise the standard of humanity through kindness, justice and mutual respect. If we truly want to follow the Sunnah, we must reflect on how we treat people who are different from us. Do we speak to them with kindness? Do we listen with patience? Do we make them feel valued and safe in our presence? That is the real test. Islam teaches us to look beyond differences and recognize the shared humanity that connects us all. And when we practice that level of respect, we fulfill a beautiful part of our deen. The Prophet Muhammad's showed unmatched respect, even to his enemies. This is one of the most powerful and beautiful aspects of his character. Throughout his life, the Prophet was faced with opposition, hatred, and aggression from many people, yet he responded with calmness, dignity, and kindness. His ability to show respect to those who insulted him, plotted against him, and even physically harmed him, is a lesson for every believer in how to uphold noble character no matter the situation. From the early days of Islam, the Prophet faced rejection from his own people. The Quraysh, they called him a liar, a sorcerer, and a madman. They threw dirt on him while he prayed, placed the intestines of a camel on his back during sujud, and mocked him in public. Yet he never responded with harsh words. He never cursed them. Instead, he made dua for their guidance. He remained calm and respectful, because he knew that his mission was not just to deliver a message, but to embody it. One of the most remarkable incidents was after the conquest of Makkah. The Prophet returned victorious after years of persecution. He stood before the very people who had driven him out, killed his companions, and waged war against him. They were at his mercy. Any leader in history might have sought revenge. But the Prophet asked them, "What do you think I will do with you today?" They replied, "You are a noble brother and the son of a noble brother." He said, "Go, for you are free." This act of forgiveness and respect broke their hearts, and led many of them to accept Islam. His character spoke louder than any words could. Another example is how he treated the Jewish tribes of Medina. Even though some of them conspired against him, he still maintained justice and fairness. He visited a Jewish boy who was sick, and when that boy accepted Islam on his deathbed, the Prophet was filled with joy. He also stood in respect when a Jewish funeral passed by. And when someone asked, "But he was a Jew," the Prophet replied, "Was he not a human soul?" This shows the level of his respect and sensitivity toward others. Even in battle, the Prophet maintained ethics and honor. He forbade harming women, children, the elderly, or even trees. He instructed his companions never to mutilate the bodies of enemies or celebrate over death. His approach to warfare was guided by mercy and principle, not vengeance or hatred. The Prophet's respect extended to those who disagreed with him, to the poor, the oppressed, and even to his enemies. This wasn't weakness, it was strength. It was control over the nafs, guided by divine character. As Muslims, if we wish to follow the Sunnah truly, we must learn to respect others the way he did, through patience, dignity, and unwavering compassion. This is the legacy he left for us. Disrespecting parents, elders, or teachers is a sign of spiritual weakness. In Islam, these relationships are sacred and deeply valued. The way we treat those who have nurtured us, taught us, and guided us reflects the state of our heart and our connection with Allah. When a person disrespects their parents, speaks harshly to elders, or mocks their teachers, it is not just a social flaw. It is a spiritual disease. It shows pride, ego, and a lack of gratitude, all of which are condemned in Islam. Allah has placed great emphasis on the importance of being dutiful to parents, so much so that in the Quran, he mentions it right after the command to worship him alone. You, and your Lord has decreed that you not worship except him, and to parents good treatment. Surah Al-Isra 17:23. This ayah alone shows how high their status is. If a person prays all night and fasts every day but treats their parents with disrespect, they are failing a core part of their deen. Even if the parents are difficult or not practicing, Islam teaches us to maintain respect, not because they are always right, but because Allah commanded us to honor them. The same applies to elders. Whether they are family members or members of the community, Islam teaches us to show them respect and give them their rightful place. The Prophet Muhammad said, "He is not one of us who does not show mercy to our young ones and respect to our elders." This hadith draws a clear line. If we do not respect our elders, we are distancing ourselves from the prophetic example. In a world that often glorifies youth and disregards the wisdom of age, Islam teaches balance. It teaches us that the experience and life journey of an elder deserve acknowledgement and honor. Teachers, too, hold a special place in our tradition. In Islamic history, scholars were respected almost as much as kings, because they carried the light of knowledge. Even the companions of the Prophet would sit in silence, completely attentive, when he spoke, out of sheer respect for the knowledge he was passing on. Today, when students raise their voices at teachers, mock their efforts, or ignore their advice, it reflects not intelligence but ignorance. A person who truly understands the value of knowledge will humble themselves before those who teach, no matter how flawed they may be. Disrespect toward these three categories, parents, elders and teachers, shows that the herd has become arrogant and blind to gratitude. It shows an ego that refuses to acknowledge those who paved the way for us. And such arrogance is the path of Shaitan, not the believer. True strength and true faith lie in humility. A spiritually strong person lowers their wing of mercy to their parents, listens to their elders with patience, and honors their teachers with sincerity. This is not just good manners. It is an act of worship that brings us closer to Allah. Respect is shown not just in words, but in tone, attitude, and action. Many people believe that as long as they don't say something disrespectful directly, they have maintained good manners. But Islam teaches us that respect goes far deeper than just the words we choose. It includes the way we speak, the expressions on our face, the body language we use, and even the smallest of gestures. A person may say something that seems polite on the surface, but if the tone is sarcastic or cold, or if the attitude is filled with arrogance, it nullifies the respect they pretend to show. The Prophet Muhammad was the best example of true respect in all forms. When he spoke to people, he turned his entire body toward them. He listened without interrupting. He never raised his voice out of pride or anger. He didn't look at people with judgment or mockery, and he never made anyone feel small. His companions would say that when he looked at you, it felt like you were the most important person in the room. That is respect, not just in words but in presence, tone, and behavior. Sometimes, we might say something as simple as, okay, or fine, but the way we say it can carry deep disrespect. A harsh tone, rolled eyes, crossed arms, or an annoyed sigh can send a message that the other person is not valued. Islam reminds us that intention matters, but so does delivery. If we want to follow the manners of our Prophet, we must be mindful of the small things. Speaking kindly, keeping a soft tone, maintaining eye contact, and using respectful body language are all part of Islamic etiquette. Another important point is our attitude. When we deal with others from a place of superiority, it shows in our behavior. Maybe we avoid greeting someone properly, or we don't give them time when they speak, or we talk over them. These may not involve rude words, but they send a message that we don't value the other person. That's disrespect, and it's dangerous to the soul. The Prophet was humble even with the poorest of the poor, the youngest children, and even the non-believers. He treated everyone with dignity, because his heart was pure. Actions also speak louder than words. Holding the door open, standing when elders enter, giving up your seat, listening attentively, helping someone without being asked. These are all forms of silent respect. They prove that your heart is inclined toward honoring others. In Islam, these actions are not just good manners, they are rewarded as acts of righteousness. So while it is easy to say, I respect you, the real question is do your tone, attitude and actions prove it? True respect is not limited to speech, it is a consistent way of being. When a believer internalizes this, they become someone who spreads peace, and earns the love of both people and their Creator. A respectful heart invites the mercy of Allah and strengthens our Imaan. In Islam, respect is not just about manners. It is deeply connected to the condition of our soul. When a person carries a respectful heart, they are naturally more humble, more grateful, and more conscious of how they treat others. These are the qualities that Allah loves. Respect softens the heart, removes pride, and brings a person closer to the character of the Prophet Muhammad. It opens the door to compassion, justice, and kindness, all of which are signs of a strong believer. When we speak kindly to others, when we lower our voice in front of our parents, when we step aside for the elderly, when we show patience to someone who may be wrong. These are not small acts. These are acts of worship. Allah sees the effort behind every respectful gesture, and He rewards it, even if the world doesn't notice. A person with a respectful heart will never humiliate others, because they understand that every human being carries dignity given by Allah. That awareness makes them more careful with their words, more thoughtful with their actions, and more merciful in their judgments. Respect is also a reflection of taqwa, God consciousness. When we respect someone, we are actually recognizing that Allah is watching us and that He created that person. This becomes especially important when dealing with those we dislike or disagree with. It's easy to respect someone we love or admire, but the real test is respecting others when they test our patience. The Prophet respected even those who rejected him, because his heart was full of sincerity. He knew that his respect was for the sake of Allah, not to please people. The mercy of Allah descends upon hearts that are clean and gentle. A disrespectful person may pray and fast, but if their heart is filled with arrogance and harshness, they block that mercy. The Prophet once said, "Shall I not tell you about the people of the fire? They are harsh, cruel, and arrogant." This shows that inner respect and gentleness are not just recommended. They are essential to faith. Also, a respectful heart brings peace to one's relationships. Marriages, friendships, and family ties all thrive when there is mutual respect. Without it, love fades and trust breaks. But where respect is present, even in difficult times, people treat each other with honor, and that brings barakah into their lives. A believer's Imaan is never complete until they wish for others what they wish for themselves. And this requires a heart that respects others without judgment. In the end, respect is a seed planted in the heart that bears fruit in behavior. And when that seed is watered with sincerity and the love of Allah, it grows into a tree that shelters everyone around us with kindness. Such a heart becomes beloved to the people, and more importantly beloved to Allah. That is the power of a respectful heart. It strengthens faith and earns divine mercy. My beloved brothers and sisters, as we come to the end of this important reminder, let us take a moment to reflect. Respect is not just a word we speak. It is a lifestyle we live. It begins deep within the heart and flows into our words, our tone, our actions, and our attitude. It is not something we offer only to those we like or agree with, but something we uphold because Allah commands it, and our faith demands it. Our Prophet Muhammad was the perfect example of respectful character. He honored the poor and the powerful, the believer and the non-believer, the young and the old, the friend and the enemy. He never allowed pride to enter his heart, and he never looked down on anyone. If we truly want to follow his path, then we must also adopt this noble trait, not just occasionally but consistently. Let us respect our parents, even when they are difficult. Let us respect our elders, even if they don't understand us. Let us respect our teachers, for they guide us with knowledge. Let us respect our children, our spouses, our neighbors, and even strangers. And above all, let us respect every human being for the simple fact that they were created by Allah. Disrespect leads to broken hearts, broken homes, and broken societies. But respect builds love, unity, and peace. It earns the mercy of Allah, and it beautifies our Imaan. So don't wait for others to change. Be the one who sets the example. Be the one who speaks gently, who listens with patience, who walks with humility, and who treats others with dignity. Remember, the Prophet said, "The most beloved of you to me are those with the best character." And respect is at the core of good character. May Allah fill our hearts with humility, soften our words with kindness, and make us people of respect always. Ameen.